After my last video about the iOS 14 update and how it will affect Facebook ads, I got a lot of questions from my subscribers and from my members, and they wanted to know in specific if Facebook's conversion API might be a solution to the iOS 14 update. So I want to address this in this video. I want to tell you what exactly Facebook conversion API is and how you can get started. So the first thing I want to address is it's not really a solution, although it's the future. So let me explain a little bit more. The iOS 14 update basically just means that Apple's new browser will block third-party cookies like the Facebook Pixel if the user doesn't intentionally log in and says, yes, I will allow that this app is tracking me. So the efforts behind that is that people's data is protected and people can make more informed decision about what data they want to share with what company, which I personally think is a good thing. And Apple is kind of the first mover here, but other browsers and also Chrome, I think, in the near future will follow with that. The issue with Facebook is that it's performance-based, it's data-driven, and especially the targeting and how the algorithm finds us the people that are most likely to perform a desired action, like a opt-in, a purchase, giving us their email address in exchange for a freebie. Facebook is able to find us those people for such low costs is based on data. So the more data Facebook has, the better their algorithms can operate. And now with this iOS 14 update and that a lot of people will opt out, there's this dark spot in the data that is now there and that becomes bigger. So the conversion API is not a solution to that in that sense that even if you would activate it on your page, it will not fill up the whole data void because that's just sending data from your page. If all sites would do it, yes, that could help to make the problem less urgent. So far, although the changes have been rolled out and we saw some crazy things happen, like a lot of accounts get shut down, attribution window going down from 28 days to 7 days. So less purchases will be reported even if they happened, which is something that we as agency owners have to explain to our clients. And the reporting that didn't always work over the last days, we didn't see a super significant drop in performance. Although it might come over the next month when this dark spot gets bigger and Facebook cannot calculate as well anymore. But I'm very certain, as I said in my last video, that Facebook will come up with a solution around that and that things will go back to normal. It's a marketplace, it's a platform that only exists because people spend money there, and if they can't profitably advertise there anymore, there will be no Facebook. So they will come up with a solution, and I don't think that Facebook altogether will go away. But the whole message is protecting people's data gets more and more in a focus, and cookie-based tracking, like it is with the Facebook Pixel, will not only be an issue with iOS, it will also come to Chrome. And in the future, we want to move away from tracking people's behavior on the browser side, which a cookie is. So we place a little script code in the header section of each page, depending also on what action there happens, and then the browser reports back to Facebook. And we will move away from that and we will move towards a server-side tracking so that instead of the browsers, the servers are communicating with each other. And this server-side tracking is called the Facebook Conversion API. It's part of Facebook's marketing API, and it's just a protocol. It's where we can interact with Facebook servers and report directly from our servers back. So the bad news is that it's not as easy to set up as the Facebook Pixel. You actually need a little bit of knowledge around development if you want to do that yourself. Except, and there are always, when we have problems like this, there's help emerging that also allows us to DIY the solution, and I will tell you what these are in a second. So yeah, the overall trend is going away from the cookie-based, moving to the server side. This is for data protection, but not only, it's also more efficient in that sense that the browser cookies don't work well when there's a slow page loading time when there's some other technical issues or when people use ad blockers. Plus, another huge downside is that it only reports top of funnel KPIs. So up until the purchase. But what is not trackable with the pixel in that way is, for example, if we have phone calls or if the attribution window, or if conversions happen outside the attribution window. So maybe a person saw our ad and they didn't purchase for 28 or now as it is 7 days, but they purchased on the 32nd day, right? So if we track things with the browser, we cannot track them. And on the server side, we can actually do a deep tracking like that. And it also works when people have ad blockers, and it also works if the page loads slow. So it's more reliable, it's more accurate, we can go deeper in the measurement. And in addition to that, we can hash people's data and encrypt it more securely. And in that sense, it's more compliant with the development of being really careful with people's data. So those are all good things. There is one more really incredible thing about the server-side tracking is that you have more control over the data and you can report what data you want to send back to Facebook. So imagine you have leads coming in, and some of the leads, they're good. After they opt in and give you the email address, they book a call, and because you can measure calls now, you know that a month later this person bought a high-ticket product from you. So with the server-side conversion API, you would actually be able to track those things and decide that you report only good leads back to Facebook. So for example, I only want to report the leads back that actually booked the call on the page. Or that actually booked the call and that I was able to close. So you have the control of what data will be reported back, and Facebook will optimize on that. So that's a really positive part about it. So now to set it up, I can point you in 3 directions. So the first thing is, if you are an e-commerce owner and you have Shopify integrated like an API solution, and yes, it does communicate with Facebook's API, but it's a very superficial solution. And it's definitely enough for beginners and if you don't run too high budgets. But if you want something more sophisticated, there is a tool called Elevar, and they offer a pretty good solution based on Google Tag Manager. For WordPress, we have a plugin that comes from Pixel Your Site, and of course I will link this below, that also allows you to integrate the conversion API with, very reasonable amount of time, and I wouldn't say that you actually need developer skills. And then for other platforms, my team and I, we look into tracking it with Google Tag Manager. You can create containers that are server-sided. So there's the opportunity to set the conversion API up with Google Tag Manager. And some amazing people already did work around that and templates that you can use. So you don't necessarily have to start from scratch with that. So those are the kind of ways that I wanted to point you to. Shopify, there's an integration. If you really plan on, going big with it, look into Elevar. If you use WordPress, then look into the Pixel Your Site WordPress plugin. And for all other people that consider, leveling things up, at this point, I really would talk about leveling things up. So it's not that you have to have this in place tomorrow or your performance will drop. Your performance will drop anyway because, as I said, it doesn't solve the whole problem of Facebook just missing out on a lot of data. So you don't have to have that tomorrow, but understanding that we're moving away from cookie-based tracking into server-side tracking is key if you want to keep advertising in the future, and then it pays off to look for solutions around that if you are an advertiser on a bigger scale. If you, for example, like many of my members, you're just in the process where you start to grow your email list and your group and you use the lead ads that are on Facebook, please don't get concerned about conversion API. You don't need this right now. But if you're one of my members that is just in the scaling phase of their self-liquidating offer and you're spending, $1,000 a day or something like that, then we might need to look into that. Okay, so if you want more information around that, if you want me to create an actual tutorial about setting things up with Tag Manager, then please drop a comment below, and I hope this was helpful for you. Take care.